I love these energy drinks, man. I'm almost like kind of on an energy drink cleanse.
Don't look now, but the monster is coming to get you. No, not that kind of monster. The top 10 untold truths about Monster energy drinks.
Ever tried to jump over a train on a bike? Monster Energy. Put it in your body and ask questions later.
Natural Monster.
The energy drink of today's youth was a health drink.
You might be surprised to learn that Monster Energy Drink was created in a laboratory by Hansen's Natural. This is a soft drink brand long associated with healthier alternatives to big brand sugary sodas. The company has been around since the 1930s and is a family-owned business started by Hubert Hansen and his sons. Hansen's Natural started as a fruit juice company, but in the 1970s, the company decided to get into the soda business. The company was able to find a niche as an alternative soft drink maker who marketed sodas with real fruit juices. Things started to change in 2002 when Hansen's Natural debuted a new product called Monster Energy Drink. To say the new drink was a great success would be an understatement. Annual revenues exploded from $50 million to $1.7 billion. But how natural really are Monster energy drinks? Like a lot of things, it's relative because Hansen's Natural does use some fruit juices and other natural ingredients in its sodas.
I invented a new power drink made out of beet runoff.
Monster energy drinks contain ginseng, caffeine, niacin, B12, and some taurine. Taurine is an amino acid that helps your body digest fats. Compared to the big brand sodas, it seems like Monster is relatively healthy.
It just gives me so much more energy. I just suck these down.
Monster Mash.
What about this bottle of power drink?
What flavor?
Blue.
Blue's not a flavor.
The original Monster energy drink debuted in 2002 with 6 variations. But since that time, the number of styles has grown to 9, and the total number of flavors stands at 34. The original Monster Energy doesn't list a specific flavor on its packaging, but some people have described it as having a slight apple taste. The styles are categories such as Rehab, Muscle Ultra, Java, and Hydro. Within the Rehab style, which is tea-based, there are several flavors such as White Dragon, Lemonade, Pink Lemonade Peach Tea, and Orangeade and Raspberry Tea. The Muscle style of Monster Energy drink has the addition of protein, so these can be used as a post-workout and recovery drink to help you build muscle. This style of Monster drink only comes in chocolate and vanilla. For those people who love Monster but want fewer calories, have the option of choosing the Ultra style of flavors. These healthier options include the zero-calorie flavors like Absolutely Zero, Sunrise, and Citron. With all these different styles and flavors, there are more than enough choices for even the pickiest of tastes.
That tastes good. I love the flavor of that.
Extremely Monster.
I feel extreme relaxation.
There are plenty of celebrities that are sponsored by the popular beverage. The company also favors musical acts like the rapper Lil Xan and the colorfully named Five Finger Death Punch. The singer Danny Lee has been one of Monster's biggest musical stars to date. In February 2020, the company announced she would be headlining the upcoming Monster Outbreak Tour. Most of its customers are kids, especially boys, so it's no surprise that Monster likes to sponsor car racing, video game players, BMX bikers. These are generally thought of as extreme sports that are popular with teenage boys who are looking for their next adrenaline rush. In 2017, the company signed a deal with NASCAR, which is all about adrenaline, so this partnership seems destined to be a success.
I eat success for breakfast.
Monster is a big presence at both the Summer and Winter X Games. These games feature sports like skateboarding and snowboarding, respectively, and are a big draw on ESPN. Always looking for a new opportunity to reach a younger customer base, Monster has stepped into the ring and has started to sponsor MMA fighters. The beverage company was one of the forces behind the recent UFC 251 Fight Island held in Dubai in July 2020. Monster certainly seems to know who its customer base is and is aggressively marketing to them. These efforts have paid off because Monster Energy is second only to Red Bull in the war for energy drink supremacy.
Monster Energy brings out the monster in you.
Monster in the courtroom.
So sue me. No, don't sue me.
Monster Energy Drink's marketing efforts have tried to portray the brand as cool and hip, associating itself with young musicians and extreme athletes. This is the picture Monster wants its customers to see, but the reality is a little different. The beverage maker has actually been quite litigious, suing anyone who's unlucky enough to come to its attention.
Off with his head!
Monster jealously guards its name against attempts to use similar names. Even though Monster Energy sells drinks, it pursued legal action against a company called MonsterFishKeepers.com, arguing it was guilty of copyright infringement. This might seem a little silly, but a lot is at stake in cases like these. In this case, the fish company successfully defended itself, but A case like this also serves to put other businesses on notice that Monster Energy is lurking out there somewhere, waiting to pounce. Some people argue that Monster has engaged in a nasty practice called trademark bullying. This is a tactic where a company uses its rights to a trademark to harass other businesses. Apparently, even monsters are thin-skinned, because the company sued a website because it gave them a bad review. For a giant company with global sales in the billions of dollars, this seems particularly petty. So far, however, Monster seems to have been able to maintain its image as a cool, hip company in tune with the younger generation, even though it throws its weight around in the courtroom.
Do I dare ask you to call your next witness?
Hot monsters.
No fraternizing with cheerleaders.
The same young men who like energy drinks, loud music, and thrilling sports also tend to appreciate a beautiful young woman. It probably doesn't come as a shock, then, that Monster Energy has a troupe of young women who are part of the company's marketing efforts to capture the attention of young men. Think Laker girls or Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, with a slightly harder edge, and you've got the Monster Girls. Monster Energy has collected an international bevy of beauties that includes Ashley from the United States, Danelle from South Africa, Yasina from Mexico, and Alina from the Czech Republic. MonsterEnergy.com has a feature called Monster Girl Monday, but fans have to access content exclusively at Monster's channels. The site isn't very clear on what kind of content fans can expect, but it says the girls will brighten your day. The Monster Girls were in Dubai in October 2019 as part of Monster's marketing efforts to support a dune buggy rally held in the desert. Are the Monster Girls just another collection of pretty faces? Perhaps, but it seems to be working for Monster.
Tell her that she is the most beautiful girl you've ever seen in the world.
No monsters in India.
You wanted to see a bit of real India? Here it is!
There are plenty of things to drink in India, but one thing they don't have anymore are Monster energy drinks. The main problem the Indian government had with this particular energy drink was the combination of caffeine and ginseng. Caffeine, of course, is a stimulant, and ginseng has a bit of a calming effect. So in 2015, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India decided that these ingredients would essentially cancel each other out. So what was the point? We know the point was to sell a lot of Monster energy drinks to people who could be convinced that the beverage actually gave them a little energy boost. There was also a report that the FSSAI had an issue with the amount of caffeine the drinks contain, and that some of the drinks that were tested apparently contained higher levels of caffeine than advertised. It's unclear whether the Indian government acted on its own or was prompted to do so by consumers' complaints. Despite the nationwide ban, however, stores were still selling the popular beverages a month after the ban went into place. Zynga and Cloud9, two similar energy drinks, were also banned by the FSSAI for similar reasons. Indian officials responded by saying it would take some time for the recall to go fully into effect. Maybe the conflicting ingredients don't make a whole lot of sense, but why not leave it up to the consumer to decide?
If you want to have a drink, you should just have a drink.
Sugar Monster.
That's too much sugar.
Soda drinkers know that their favorite bubbly beverages contain a lot of sugar. Soda companies know their customers know this, and it's why they offer calorie-free diet versions of their drinks. Monster energy drinks are billed as something different than your average Coke or Pepsi because they include some exotic ingredients like taurine and ginseng. But not only does a 16-ounce can of the original Monster flavor have 160 milligrams of caffeine, it also has a whopping 54 grams of sugar. 54 grams of sugar is equal to 13 teaspoons.
It's too much!
This eye-opening amount is supposedly mitigated by the fact that a 16-ounce can is recommended to be 2 servings. But how many kids split their can of Monster with a friend? This combination of sugar and caffeine has fueled many a late-night marathon video game session, but at the cost of precious sleep and probably a few teeth. Because they know not everyone wants that much sugar in a drink, Monster Energy does offer sugar-free choices in the form of the ultra-style varieties, such as Absolutely Zero. One of the problems with sugary drinks is that many people, especially young people, may not be aware how many calories some drinks can have. A 16-ounce can of Monster contains 220 calories. So, if someone drinks a couple of these a day, the calories add up fast. If customers are willing to trade some of the taste for calories, the 0 calories option makes sense. But what kid wants to be lectured about these kinds of things?
120 calories and 48 calories from fat. What percent is that?
Monsters versus Beasties.
This means war!
Hey, it's cool, it's cool.
It's a bit convoluted, but the rap group Beastie Boys and Monster Energy Drink got themselves embroiled in a nasty legal fight. The drama began in 2012 after a DJ named Z-Trip was given a cut of a Beastie Boys mega mix recorded at a music festival inspired by Monster Energy drinks. Monster Energy asked the DJ about the music, and he responded by saying, "Dope." The folks at Monster thought this gave the company permission to use the track as part of its online advertising. But not so fast, said DJ Z-Trip, who argued he hadn't given his permission to Monster to use it. The resulting lawsuit revolved around the actual meaning of the word dope and what Z-Trip had meant when he said it. The other issue in the case was whether or not the use of the music by Monster Energy Drink constituted an endorsement by the Beastie Boys of Monster. The case sounds pretty silly in the grand scheme of things, but the outcome was fairly serious. The Beastie Boys were awarded $1.7 million for their trouble. The boys went back to court, however, to try to recoup the money they'd spent on lawyers. This case dragged on until 2016, and the final settlement involved a non-disclosure agreement, so we don't know how much they got. Any chance the Beastie Boys enjoy a Monster now and then?
Beastie Boys.
That was one because it was dangerous. There was like, I had no danger in my life.
Monster Brews.
Are you drunk?
No, I didn't have anything to drink.
Monster Energy drinks are billed as somewhat healthy drinks that provide a little bit of a boost for young people pushing their limits on a skateboard or in their basement playing the latest video game. However, because people are people, it wasn't long before some started to experiment with mixing Monster Energy with different kinds of alcohol. With 34 flavors of Monster Energy drinks and counting, and well, a lot of different kinds of alcohol, the possibilities seem to be endless. As far as energy drinks go, Monster is probably a good choice for a mixer because it doesn't have a strong flavor that would interfere too much with the taste of your alcohol of choice, only complement it. The part that doesn't make sense to a lot of people is the idea that you'd want to mix a highly caffeinated beverage with alcohol, which of course is not a stimulant, but a depressant. It seems like the conflicting chemicals would sort of cancel each other out, but apparently a growing number of drinkers enjoy these concoctions. One popular Monster cocktail combines the energy drink with Absolute vodka and is called a Picardo. Another scary concoction includes Monster, Jägermeister herbal liqueur, and Malibu mango rum. The Loch Ness Monster could be interesting. Monster, Southern Comfort, Black Label peach schnapps, Captain Morgan spiced rum, Jose Cuervo gold tequila, and 8 kinds of alcohol. This one actually sounds more ridiculous than interesting, but it's certainly a monster of a cocktail.
Cocktails and dreams.
Hey, that's not a bad name for a joint.
Monstrous conspiracy.
They can see you. They're probably watching us right now.
Conspiracy theories can be ridiculous, fun, or even downright paranoid. The conspiracy theories that have grown up around Monster Energy drinks are a combination of all of these. Strange stories about this popular beverage, enjoyed by millions of young people around the world, started to circulate on the internet and social media platforms around 2009. A person put out a video that purported to explain the satanic symbolism supposedly hiding in plain sight on Monster Energy's labels. The video presentation described the familiar 3-fingered claw design as a representation of the Hebrew VAV, or the number 6. This was said to show that the drink was displaying 666, or the sign of the beast.
Stop it! Right now.
The problem with this urban legend is that it apparently misunderstands how Hebrew displays numbers. In Hebrew, you would write 666 instead of 666. However, the satanic conspiracy didn't stop there. The conspiracy-minded among us also pointed out the O used in Monster that they say contains a cross that is turned upside down when the can is tipped up when someone takes a sip. The problem with this one is that the exotic-looking O was taken from the pre-Christian Greek symbol known as Phi. Some people want to see nefarious patterns in global conspiracy, but it turns out that the Monster Energy drinks are completely harmless, at least on a spiritual underworld plane.
I forgot my mantra.
Power up and tap on one of our other great videos, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell to join our notification squad.